No matter who you are, you will have haters. John 15 verse 18 says, if the world hates you, know that it hated Jesus first. So if you have haters, know that God is greater than your haters. Lately you've been feeling the weight of your haters coming at you with their envy and their hate, scheming against you, throwing mud on your name. But God's gonna work it out despite their lies and game. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer. Let the haters hate while you elevate. Pay no mind to the critics, be about your goals. Keep rising, keep shining. Your haters can't stop no show. They can hate all they want to. Remember you are blessed. Never let a hater see you sweat, cause this is just a test. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer. Let the haters hate while you elevate. Don't let the negativity poison your mind. Run your race with grace, one day at a time. They can laugh and they can mock you, but you won't miss a beat. When people don't receive you, shake the dust off your feet. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer. Let the haters hate while you elevate. Never leave your livelihood in someone else's hands. In this day and age, it's important to take charge of your professional path. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you find value here. Before we get into today's topic, I want to tell you about the inspirational mug that I'm drinking out of, and it is the Mental Health Affirmations mug, which reminds me to put my mind in a productive headspace. If you would like to get this mug, it's available at CassandraMacMinistries.com. If you have any of our mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, any of my books, which one do you have and how has it helped you? Please let us know in the comments section. Let's dive in. In this video series, I'm going to be sharing 9 tips to stay in charge of your career. This is a 3-part video series. So part 1 will be a public video, part 2 and 3 will be for members. So let us dive in. I had a client who was working for a company and he started taking college classes. Once he started taking college classes, he let his supervisor know that he was taking college classes, and his supervisor changed his schedule so that it would obstruct his ability to take his college classes. So what began to happen is they made things so difficult for this young man that eventually they fired him. And he was under the mindset that his supervisor would be happy that he was taking college classes. But the thing about human beings that's important to understand is that humans are humans first before they are whatever position they hold at a company. So if an individual is insecure, if they have to be the shiniest object in the room, if they want to be the smartest person in the room and the only one with knowledge, the only one with a degree, then that is the human being who is showing up to supervise your work, regardless of what their resume says and what the name tag or the nameplate says on the door. And it's important to keep human nature in mind. So I want to share these tips with you. We're going to do this in 3 videos because it's a lot to take in. And if you would like access to parts 2 and 3, you can join our membership at the Insiders Club tier, and that'll give you access to that. So, number 1, and this is the most important in my opinion, you need to develop the mindset in this economy, in this job market, that you are a free agent selling your professional skills and services, even if you work for a company. So one of the things that I see being a trainer, and as a trainer, I am called in by HR or by upper management to help organizations get their team or their employees up to speed by way of professional development training, whether the training is customer service, whether the training is time management, project management, team building, so forth. And so I'm able to see the inner workings and the issues from both sides, from those who are working on the front end, who I am doing the hands-on training for, and for those in HR and upper management who are bringing me in to conduct the training and meeting with me to talk about their goals, challenges, and some of the issues. And one of the things that I will say that in this economy is important to keep in mind is that you are a free agent. Even if you work for a company and you've been there 10 years, you are a free agent selling your professional skills and services. Because even if a company says we are like family, we treat our employees like family, we all are very close around here, we all look out for one another, and that may be true, but it may not be true. It may be true, but it may not be true. And so in some instances, that may be true, but every company, that's not true. So what do you do when you have bought into the notion that the company is like family, and you're working for a small company, family-owned company, and their kid comes home from college and needs a job, and they let you go because their kid needs a job? They said you were like family, but you're really not like family. Or you might be working for a big company, and you do a lot of things outside of the office together. Maybe Fridays you go bowling, whatever the thing is that you all do together. And you made the mistake of expressing a negative opinion about one of the higher ups, and it got back to them. You thought you were like family. You thought you could speak freely. So you got to remember that you are a free agent selling your professional skills and services. And let me be clear, I'm not advocating for gossip and talking about people behind their back. What I am saying is, when you naively believe that you are like family just because that's what a company says, or that's the values that's on their website, you know a company by how they treat people. You know a company by the company culture, what you observe, not by the employee manual. So when you put yourself in the mindset that you are a free agent selling your professional skills and services, then what this does for you is it helps you to develop the mindset and the posture that you are loyal to your purpose, your calling, and your goals above all else. That is what you are loyal to. And it's interesting because there's a scripture in the Bible, and I want to bring this scripture to light. That's Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. And it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So it's important that we keep in mind that it is God, right? And I always speak to the believer in these videos to be very clear about who my audience is. It is important to keep in mind that it is God that gives mankind the ability to produce wealth. It is God that opens doors for us, right, by way of other people. So when we are coming with this understanding that we are working for the Lord, then it is also coming from the understanding that you are working for your purpose. You were working for your calling, even though you were doing it through the vehicle of selling your professional skills and services for a company. And so when you're working for the Lord, you're going to work with some key principles. You're going to work with integrity. There are certain things that you are not going to do because you have integrity, but you are also going to know when to move in silence. So it reminds me of the story of Nehemiah in the Bible, when Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls in Jerusalem. And it very explicitly states in the Bible that when he was moved and inspired and called to rebuild these walls, he told no one what was on his heart to do. In other words, he moved in silence. In other words, he did not speak freely about his goal and his dreams to people who did not need to know that. He did not announce his moves to people who did not need to know how he was moving, because there were some people who did not want to see the walls rebuilt. And Nehemiah was a wise enough man to take that into account, that everybody doesn't want to champion your success. And not only that, everybody doesn't need to know every move you're making, because people cannot sabotage what they don't know. They can't sabotage what they're not aware of. So when you're working for the Lord, you're working from a place of integrity, but you're also prioritizing your calling, your purpose. So if you're called to that job for 1 year and it's a stepping stone for your ultimate professional goal, then that's the calling. So you're not working as though you're working for a supervisor or you're working for a director. And I'm talking about a mindset. This is not stuff you're saying to people. This is the mindset that you have. Because when you have this mindset, it is going to shape how you move. You will be able to move like Nehemiah, who had a goal, but he moved in silence. He didn't go broadcasting what he was going to do, so that he didn't give people an opportunity to sabotage what it was he was trying to do. And so in the case with this young man, it was a young man who was taking college classes, and he let his boss know. The boss changed his schedule to obstruct the college classes, as I said earlier, and then he was, fired as time progressed, the young man. And it would have been better if he was just quiet about what he was doing. He didn't have to let anyone know that he was taking college courses. So keep in mind that you are a free agent, especially in this economy, and you will have jobs, companies that will lay employees off without a second thought, that will lay them off by text. There have been situations where people come to work and there's a notice on the door, company closed. That's company loyalty. So begin to really see yourself as a free agent. And again, you're not saying this aloud, but this is the mindset that you're having. You have to move with wisdom. Moving with wisdom is important. And the Bible talks about being prudent. And one of the indicators of a person being prudent is to exercise restraint with your words, right? The Bible says a prudent man restrains his words. So, meaning a prudent human being. So, you don't need to broadcast what you're doing. That's what I'm getting at, so that you can be mindful. So, that brings us to number 2. Pay attention to the culture of your company. And by culture, I'm talking about the values of the company and how they treat people. I'm not talking about ethnicity. The way they treat people and how they move in that company. I always say that whenever you are hired for a company, there are 2 sets of rules. There are the rules that are written in the policy and procedure manual, and then there are the real rules. They're not written down, but they're behaviors and indicators that determine who gets hired, who gets fired, who has an easy path, who has support, and who doesn't. And these are things that are observable. You can observe how upper management moves. You can observe this and you can get a sense of that. So you want to pay attention. So a company may say the words, "We are like family," But then you want to observe, what are the strings that are attached? What are the conditions in order to be family? What are the conditions? Does this mean that I am expected to work on my off hours and not get paid? Does it mean that I'm expected to come in every weekend, even though I was told I would have weekends off when I initially interviewed for this job? Does this mean that I'm supposed to tolerate people talking to me crazy? Is that what it means to that we're like family? What does that mean? And you're going to be able to observe these things. If you sit back and observe, you are going to learn what you need to learn about the company. When you observe who gets written up, especially if they're doing their job, who is sitting in HR meetings and having a disciplinary discussion, even though they're doing what they're supposed to do. Whose bad side did they get on? So these are some things that you can observe. And so part of taking charge of your career and not leaving your livelihood in anyone else's hands, right, is observing company culture so that you can determine for yourself, is this a culture that I can thrive in? And if it's a culture that I cannot thrive in, what decisions do I need to make? Am I making decisions about how long I'm going to be at this job? So I may have it in my mind that I'm going to be here for a year, and this is a stepping stone to make a lateral move, or a stepping stone to make a move in a different company. But I need the experience from this company. And so I'm going to begin to make those decisions. And your observations are going to help you make clear decisions, because you will know how to move, who to connect with, who to kind of keep your distance from. You'll have a better sense of how to play. Anytime you are playing a game, whether you're playing Monopoly or Scrabble, whatever the game is, the way that you begin to understand the rules of the game is that you have to read the directions. And so are you reading the room for directions about who has an easier path and who does not? Are you reading the directions by way of observing the interactions between different people at your job? Because that's going to give you an indication of whether or not you will be able to thrive in that setting, or at least survive in that setting without your mental health declining for as long as you choose to be there. Number 3, pay attention to changes at your company and within your industry as a whole. And so one of the things that I will tell you is that whenever a company is going through massive layoffs, even though it may come as a surprise to the people being laid off, the company usually knows this or has a sense of this 3 months, 6 months, sometimes almost a year in advance, because they can look at their financials. And you don't get to see that information. But you can begin to see changes within the company. So when a company, let's say, brings in a consultant, and this consultant is brought in for the specific purpose of meeting with each employee to have you justify your job, justify what you do, that should raise a red flag, because it usually means that the company is determining who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go, because there are going to be massive layoffs, not like 1 or 2 people. And so when you have to justify your job, and you've been at a company for 10 years, you've gotten positive evaluations, then you need to read the writing on the wall, and you may ask a direct question and not get a direct answer. So you can't go by the answer that they give you. So you may ask the question, are we preparing for layoffs? And the company may say, no, we are shifting direction, or we are moving we are formulating some new objectives, or we just want to get a sense of where everybody is. So you may not get a direct answer to the question, but you got to pay attention when you begin to see changes like this. Another change that you want to pay attention to is when your manager asks you to train somebody, and you notice that you are training someone to a job, for a job that's very much like your own. So when you go back and you read your job description that you initially applied for, when you apply for the job, and you're looking at all the things you're teaching them to do, you're like, I'm teaching them to do my job. You want to pay attention to that, because sometimes what companies will do is they will have you train somebody so that they can put someone in your position but at half your salary, because you have the time and the seniority. And this happens to people all the time. So these are things you want to pay attention to, because it's going to indicate that at the very minimum you want to begin to at least update your resume. You want to begin to at least interview for similar positions at other companies, even if it's just 1 or 2 interviews, because this will give you an indication of your marketability if the companies make you an offer. And if they don't make you an offer and they tell you the reasons why, this will also give you information on what you need to improve. So at least you know where you stand and you're not completely blindsided like a deer in headlights. If you're a chess player, one of the things about playing chess is anticipating your opponent's next move and then calculating a few moves ahead how you're going to move if they make this particular move. The same thing applies with life in general. We want to begin to develop strategic thinking, and we're going to be doing a class on that in our membership. There's going to be a class on how to think strategically, and I'm going to give you a breakdown and some formulas about being a strategic thinker. It will actually be a class open to the general public with a discount given to those who are part of the membership. So look for that class. It will be coming up in a few weeks. A lot of you have asked for that. So you want to also not just pay attention to changes at your company, but you want to pay attention to changes within your industry as a whole. So if you start to see massive layoffs in a particular industry, and then you notice that those jobs are replaced with AI, then that's telling you something. That's telling you that that industry is beginning to dry up, and you may need to begin looking at making a completely different move or going into a completely different industry. And these are hard choices. These are not answers that we want. These are not what we want to anticipate. But the bottom and top line is you got to eat. You got to pay. You got to figure out how you're going to eat. You got to figure out how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage and keep the lights on. And so you don't have the luxury of being naive and being in the dark as it relates to how companies move. And again, even if a company says that they are like family, you don't know that. You have to observe, and you still have to put it in the back of your mind that no matter how much a company says we're like family, companies do what's best for their bottom line, even if it means at the expense of a loyal employee. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Companies do what's best for their bottom line, even if it's at the expense of a loyal employee. And I'm sure many of you have seen situations or maybe experienced it personally, seen family members, your mother, your father, your grandparents give 20, 30 years to a job that was not loyal to them. This happened recently to someone that I know who was at a job for over 25 years, and literally 8 months before her retirement, they let her go. 8 months before her retirement. And that was about not wanting to give her everything that was due to her financially. And so when these things happen, we are totally caught off guard. But sometimes we're not totally caught off guard, because in this instance, right, what was happening at her company was they were laying off a lot of people who had seniority. So you started to see it, that one by one they were laying off people that had a lot of seniority and replacing them with people who they could pay half the salary to. And this was happening maybe a year or two prior to her layoff. And so this is what I mean by paying attention to changes at your company, that you can begin to see that that this is happening. And so they began doing this, and they began looking for any reason that they could to lay people off who had seniority. And this is so unfair. It is so unfair. And it unpins everything that we're trying to do. And so this is why you got to think of yourself as a free agent. Be loyal to yourself before being loyal to a company. Let me say that again. Be loyal to yourself. Be loyal to your goals. Be loyal to your aspirations, and particularly your goals. Whether those goals are financial, you have to make sure that you can do what you need to do to stay afloat. So be loyal to that, regardless of what a company tells you, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. So we are going to stop here. Oh, let me also say you want to pay attention to the industry within a whole. So when you think about Detroit and how Detroit was the center of the automotive industry, and the automotive industry in Detroit, though those plants started closing up shop, you began to see that there was a decline in that industry. So you got to pay attention, because sometimes it means making really hard decisions that you're going to have to consider so that you can stay afloat, take care of your family, and so forth. But you don't have to be caught like a deer in headlights. This is what I'm getting at. You really can read the writing on the wall. As you begin to hear the rumor mills, bring it up to your supervisor. And even if your supervisor is not upfront with you, you can still read the body language to be like, okay, they're not being upfront with me. There's more to this than that. So you may say to the supervisor, I've been hearing that layoffs are coming. Is that true? And the supervisor may say, oh, no. But you have to remember, as a believer, right, you have discernment. You also, as a human being, you have intuition and instincts. So pay attention to the body language and press for a little bit more. So if the supervisor says, well, no, they're not going to be layoffs, press for a little bit more. Say, I'm really concerned because I've been hearing rumors of layoffs. Where do you think those rumors are coming from? See, because when you push for a little bit more, what you're doing is you are giving yourself more opportunities to get a better read on the person you're talking to. Because if you ask one question and it's a yes or no answer, the conversation is over. But when you press a little more, think about when police interrogate people, right? They are not just looking for the specific answer to the question, they're also looking for body language. They're looking for nervousness. They're looking for how you answer the question. And so the same thing applies. Take an interrogative approach, but in a softer way, because that is your supervisor, so you got to be wise, right? Everything can be done with wisdom. So you want to be wise and say, I'm really concerned, because I have bills to pay and I have, things going on, and I want to make sure that I'm good. And I can't help but to worry because, and press for a little more. Do they want to get off the subject? Are they getting annoyed? This will give you an indication. Let me start updating my resume and let me begin to make some different moves. So we're going to stop here. And in part 2, we'll go through numbers 4, 5, 6. And in part 3, we'll go through 7, 8, 9. I also want to invite you to our Winner's Circle meetings. So for those of you who don't know about the Winner's Circle is the highest tier of membership at the Cassandra Mack YouTube channel, created specifically for leaders and entrepreneurs and those who have a success-minded mindset. And we meet by Zoom on camera. Once a month, and we talk about success principles and strategies to really help you move in the direction of your goals and your dreams to accelerate your path to success. Our next meeting is actually today, October 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in a different time zone, remember that's Eastern Standard Time. just make the adjustment. And so what we're talking about at this Zoom meeting is how to create a vision statement for your prosperity mindset and habits. So if you look at any successful companies have both a mission statement and a vision statement. And taking a page from how companies strategically plan the future of the company, what we can do as individuals is we can do the same thing. So by having a vision statement and crafting a very compelling vision statement for your future with an emphasis on your prosperity mindset and habits, that's going to help you bring clarity and strategy to your goals for the future. So if you're interested in becoming a member at the Winner's Circle tier, you can click on the join button of this video. You'll also see a link in the video description box. When you get to the membership, you'll notice that there are 4 tiers. Make sure to join at the Winner's Circle tier if you want access to today's Zoom meeting. It is on camera, meaning you're required to be on camera to be admitted into the Zoom. So if you are camera shy, then the Winner's Circle is not for you. So with that being said, have an amazing day. For those who are, oh, I'm losing my voice. For those who are coming to the Fix Your Crown Sis workshop this coming Saturday, October 12th, live in person in New York City. I so look forward to meeting you. I can't wait to meet you and to have an opportunity to really see you all in person. So I'm really looking forward to meeting those of you who are coming. Tickets are sold out. The event is closed. So if you weren't able to get your ticket this year, hopefully we'll see you at our next event. So with that being said, have a blessed day. We're praying for those who are affected by all of these hurricanes and storms. Know that we are praying for you. Let's do our best to be kind to one another. Take care.